Let's talk about whether this is worth the price. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Seafrogs underwater housing and my experiences with it over the last year and what my current underwater camera setup looks like. I've been using this housing for just over a year now and I've been lucky enough to shoot with it in a number of locations around the world and really put it through its paces. I picked up some tips and tricks that make using the housing super smooth, which I'm going to share with you today. Let's talk about the pros of the housing first, and definitely the first pro of this is the price point. The Seafrogs housings are probably the cheapest on the market, ranging from about £400 to £700, roughly about $500 to $900. This makes them way more affordable for beginners and those on a tight budget. The second pro about these housings is their lightweight plastic design. They don't take up a lot of space in your suitcases, and more importantly, they don't add a lot of weight, and this makes them perfect for traveling with. Seafrogs offer a lot of options for underwater housing, so whether you shoot on Sony like me, Canon, Fujifilm, or even Panasonic, they've got you covered. There's lots of different options in terms of lenses, domes, and ports. So whether you're trying to shoot surf photography, macro, or megafauna, there's definitely going to be a perfect option in there for you. Another great pro that I've experienced is that their customer service team is incredibly helpful, fast responding, and very friendly. Now let's talk about some of the cons of the housing, and whilst their lightweight plastic design makes them great for traveling with, it does make them super buoyant, especially when you add a massive dome port on like this. That's a lot of air inside, which is going to add to the buoyancy. This can be easily overcome by zip tying diving weights to the bottom of the housing, which makes it less buoyant. The plastic build of this housing does also mean that it's a little less rugged than a metal housing. You will see that it gets dinged up and marked up a little bit more than other housings, so just be wary of that when you're on boats and in transit. One other thing that I've seen is that the acrylic dome port on these scratches quite easily, especially with sand, so just be wary of that. They do now sell a neoprene cover for this, which I found super useful, and I have it with me all the time now when I'm traveling. One other thing that I noticed with the housing as well is that it doesn't have full functionality of all the buttons on my Sony a7R III. For example, the front dial here isn't existent. They have fixed this in the new models though, and the V3 Pro housings do have a front dial, and the only thing that's not possible to use on there is the joystick button on the camera. For me, this wasn't such a big issue due to the customization abilities of the Sony a7R III. All I did was change the aperture control from the front dial to the dial on the back, and this fixed the problem. That's really it for the cons of this housing that I found. As you can see, there's nothing major there and nothing that can't be solved quite easily. There are a couple of tips and tricks that I've picked up over the last year using the housing that I think help make the experience a little smoother. First things first is to spend a little extra money and buy the vacuum pump attachment to come with the housing. This just gives you a little extra peace of mind and helps prevent leaks and accidental floodings of the housing. My second tip is to help avoid that annoying fogging that can happen on the inside of the housing when you're shooting in hot conditions. It's a super simple fix, and all you need is a couple of these silica gel packets. They're easy to get online, and actually you often get them with other electronics that you might buy. What I do is stuff a couple of these around my camera in the housing before I seal it up, and this just helps prevent that annoying clouding and fogging in the inside of the housing. Now let's talk about my current setup and how I go about setting up the camera and housing for an underwater shoot. First things first, I vacuum my housing before I take it underwater every single time. It's just an added level of security which gives you peace of mind. One thing to note is that the Seafrogs vacuum isn't able to be taken underwater. So what I do is I vacuum it on land. Once I see that green light, I take off the vacuum, put back the original bolt, and then I don't touch it after that. It's important that after you vacuum it, you don't open the case again, just to prevent grains of sand or hair getting stuck in the O-ring and causing accidental floodings. What I do next is screw the housing into my tray with handles. The housing itself isn't the most comfortable thing to hold, and it's a little bit clunky, so having a tray with handles makes for perfect smooth videos. I also have this hand cord which I attach to one of the handles. This is great for when I need to go hands-free. I can just clip it to my BCD and I have both hands available in case of an emergency. After this is when I attach a weight to the bottom of the tray. This just helps make it less buoyant, and usually 1 or 2 kilos is all I need. This is a great simple solution for the buoyancy issues that the housing has. Any dive center that you go to is going to have extra weights hanging around, and this means that all you need to carry with you is a couple of zip ties, and that takes no space at all. Recently I've been diving with a pair of video lights, and these weigh a couple of kilos themselves, and that's meant that I haven't needed to attach weights to the bottom of the housing. A full review on these video lights and my experiences with them is coming soon, so watch out for that. After that, I screw my GoPro onto the top of the housing. I always have it there, and usually during a dive I'll leave it on the entire dive just to capture behind the scenes moments of me capturing images. So this is my current setup, and I'm really happy with how smooth it is to use. I've been able to get some really cool images over the last couple of weeks here in Mozambique to add to the ever-growing list of images that I've taken with the Seafrogs housing. Overall, I'd say the housing is really good value for money, and it's definitely something I'd recommend to beginners looking to upgrade from using an action camera underwater. I can't tell you the difference it's made to my underwater photography and videography, being able to use the full functions of my Sony a7R III underwater. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and maybe it's cleared up some queries you had about the housing. If you do have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and if you currently use this housing, let me know what your experiences are with it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.